In a world where billions of people now communicate with a single tap, it is easy to forget that one of the greatest technology revolutions in history began with a young boy who had almost nothing. Before WhatsApp connected the world, its creator was simply trying to survive. His name was Jan Koum, and long before Silicon Valley celebrated him as a visionary entrepreneur. He was growing up in a place where freedom was limited, opportunity was scarce, and even hope often felt like a luxury. Born in a small village near Kyiv in Soviet Ukraine, Jan spent his childhood surrounded by uncertainty. Hot water wasn't always available, modern comforts barely existed. Government surveillance shaped everyday life, and privacy was something people rarely experienced. Families learned to speak carefully, neighbors learned not to trust too easily, and children grew up understanding that every decision carried consequences. Despite those harsh conditions, Jan developed an extraordinary curiosity. While many children accepted the world exactly as it was, he constantly wanted to understand how things worked and why systems behaved the way they did. That quiet curiosity slowly became the foundation of a future no one could possibly imagine. As the Soviet Union began collapsing, daily life became even more unstable. Economic hardship spread across the region, and Jan's family realized that staying meant sacrificing any real chance for a better future. They faced an impossible decision that would change everything forever. Leaving Ukraine meant leaving behind everything familiar. In 1992, 16-year-old Jan Koum and his mother arrived in Mountain View, California, carrying only a few belongings and the hope of building a better future. The dream of America was real, but so were the hardships waiting for them. They lived on government food assistance. His mother worked as a babysitter to keep the family afloat, while Jan accepted any job he could find, including cleaning grocery store floors. Every dollar mattered. Every meal was earned through sacrifice. Poverty had followed them across the ocean, but so had determination. Instead of allowing those struggles to define him, Jan turned his attention towards something that fascinated him more than anything else: computers. He spent countless hours teaching himself computer networking and programming, reading borrowed manuals late into the night. While others saw impossible problems, Jan saw systems waiting to be understood. His relentless curiosity eventually opened a door into Silicon Valley. In 1997, he joined Yahoo as an infrastructure security engineer, where he met Brian Acton. Over the next several years, the two men worked side by side, learning how to build systems capable of serving millions of users. They weren't just writing code. They were quietly preparing for an opportunity that hadn't appeared yet. In 2007, both men made a bold decision. They left Yahoo without a clear plan, choosing uncertainty over comfort. It looked risky from the outside, but sometimes the biggest opportunities only appear after you are willing to walk away from what feels safe. Neither of them knew it yet, but the idea that would eventually change global communication was only moments away from being born. Returning to California, Jan applied for a position at Facebook, hoping to continue his career inside one of Silicon Valley's fastest-growing companies. The answer came quickly. He was rejected. For most people, that would have been the end of the story. For Jan Koum, it became the beginning of something far greater. Instead of chasing another corporate job, he bought one of the very first iPhones in 2009. As he explored Apple's brand new App Store, a simple but powerful idea suddenly appeared. What if people could instantly share their status with the people who mattered most? That single question would soon grow into one of the most influential applications in modern history. Sitting inside his modest apartment, Jan began writing the very first lines of code for a new application. He combined the word app with his own surname and called it WhatsApp. The first version was far from perfect. It crashed repeatedly, attracted almost no users, and pushed Jan to the edge of giving up. But Brian Acton encouraged him to keep going just a little longer. Neither of them could have imagined that this small project would soon transform global communication forever. The real revolution was about to begin, and this was only the beginning of a journey that would soon connect billions of people across the world. From the very beginning, Jan Koum refused to build a company that treated people as products. While many technology companies competed for attention through advertising and endless distractions, WhatsApp followed a completely different philosophy. Pinned above his desk was a simple message that guided every important decision. No ads, no games, no gimmicks. Those 5 words became the foundation of everything the company believed in. Every new feature was designed to make communication easier, not noisier. Every update focused on speed, reliability, and simplicity. Instead of collecting attention, WhatsApp earned trust. Instead of selling user data, it protected private conversations. In a technology industry obsessed with growth at any cost, Jan Koum quietly chose a different path. That decision changed everything. People around the world quickly recognized the difference. Families separated by thousands of miles could suddenly communicate without worrying about expensive international phone bills or SMS charges. Students, workers, parents, and grandparents all discovered the same simple truth. WhatsApp simply worked. Every day brought millions of new users. Then millions became hundreds of millions. Without expensive advertising campaigns or flashy marketing, the application spread from one phone to another through trust alone. A tiny engineering team in California suddenly found itself operating one of the fastest-growing communication platforms in history. Silicon Valley had started paying attention. The biggest technology companies realized that something extraordinary was happening. By 2013, WhatsApp had grown into one of the fastest expanding communication platforms the world had ever seen. Every single day, billions of messages traveled across continents, connecting families, friends, businesses, and entire communities. What started as a simple idea inside a small apartment had become an essential part of everyday life for hundreds of millions of people. The company's explosive growth sent shockwaves throughout Silicon Valley. The world's biggest technology companies suddenly realized that a quiet startup with almost no marketing budget had fundamentally changed the future of communication. They weren't competing with another messaging app anymore. They were witnessing the birth of a global platform. Then came the phone call that would make history. In February 2014, Facebook made an offer almost nobody believed was possible. $19 billion. It became one of the largest technology acquisitions ever recorded. Ironically, the same company that had once rejected Jan Koum now wanted to own the product he had built from nothing. Sometimes, life has a remarkable way of rewarding those who refuse to quit. For Jan Koum, the money was never the greatest victory. The most meaningful moment happened far away from the boardrooms of Silicon Valley. After the acquisition, he signed the agreement on the door of the very welfare office, where he and his mother had once waited in line for food assistance after arriving in America. It was a deeply personal reminder of how far determination, patience, and relentless hard work could take a single human being. Even after becoming one of the wealthiest entrepreneurs in the world, Jan remained remarkably private. He continued defending user privacy, supported end-to-end encryption, and resisted the growing pressure to turn personal conversations into advertising opportunities. His principles remained stronger than profit. Jan Koum's story reminds us that extraordinary success rarely begins with extraordinary circumstances. It begins with ordinary people making extraordinary decisions, one difficult step at a time. From a struggling immigrant with almost nothing to the creator of an application used by billions, his journey forever changed the way humanity communicates. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all is this: the world doesn't always reward the loudest voice. Sometimes, it rewards the person who quietly builds something that everyone else eventually needs. But perhaps Jan Koum's greatest achievement was never measured in billions of dollars. It was measured in trust. He proved that technology doesn't have to exploit people to change the world. Sometimes the simplest ideas create the greatest revolutions.